Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Be thankful as you're on your drive to wherever your families are today that you get to hear us talk about more about first base because for as bad as this position was in 2023, it's a very interesting position for Cleveland in 2024. And we just didn't have enough time to talk about it on our regularly scheduled episode on Wednesday. So here's more stuffing to put into the first base position in 2024.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the double stuffed edition. Your face is priceless there of Locked On Guardians.
It's a turkey, on not pizza.
So you can go see reactions like that as we approach 2,000, less than 100 subscribers away. You know, go subscribe on a work account, on a buddy's account. You know, just keep adding accounts. There's just too much to talk about, and we didn't even get to touch on the minors. And listen, Reddit, we love you. We appreciate you, Cleveland Guardians Reddit. You have very kind things to say about us. But one of the things you always say is that if you want minor league coverage, that's what Justin and I are best at. So how can we not do the minor league aspect of first base? We barely got to touch on Kyle Manzardo. I've got a cat going absolutely insane over here, trying to flip everything around. So I might get smacked in the face again. Who knows?
He's excited about your cat's excited about Kyle Manzardo. I understand.
She cannot keep it contained. She is going to knock over this fold up skee ball thing I got going because she is just so excited about Kyle Manzardo, and you should be too.
Yes, we all are excited about Kyle Manzardo. If you didn't listen to Wednesday's episode, I would go back and listen to that first. But if you're here, I assume you probably did because you're an everydayer, and we love you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. We are thankful for you. We'll also be thankful if you're subscribing on YouTube. If you're not yet, I'll be thankful for that too. But as Jeff pointed out about Manzardo too, that he worked on some swing changes, had some shoulder problems, had some personal life problems that are frankly very hard to get over. And we talked about how there's almost no reason. And the only thing I would even ask is like Manzardo should be on this opening day roster, right? There's no what would have to happen other than keeping him down, and this would go against Cleveland's own interests. Is I just don't see currently on the roster anybody you'd keep on the roster to play first base for a month. Because Tanner Bybee pitched his way to second in the Rookie of the Year voting, and he missed the first 3 weeks of the season in AAA, and then he missed the last 3 starts of the season. And he still pitched well enough to be second Rookie of the Year, and that obviously screwed Cleveland because he got his full they want him to pitch well, and I don't think any of us are surprised he pitched as well as he did, but it also gave him his full year of service time, which he wouldn't have gotten otherwise. So
year.
There's 2 ways to look at this. Either Cleveland well deserved, with not even a doubt. Cleveland either, and this goes to all teams, not just Cleveland. So Cleveland either decides, let's throw our hat in the ring for hopefully a Rookie of the Year candidate, get a draft pick for this, or you've got to wait until June to call him up because you don't want to risk calling him up in May, letting him get hot, and then say, crap, he didn't win Rookie of the Year because he didn't play enough, but he was good enough and he finished second. He gets his year of service time. We get squat. So there's really only 2 ways teams are going to play this as we see more of this. So Cleveland's got to choose a path here. You either decide that Kyle Manzardo is one of your 26 or one of your 26 best players, one of your 9 best hitters in the organization right now for 2024, or you're just punting and you're letting him sit in AAA till June for no reason. There's no in between, right?
And especially I think you and I both think that Shane Bieber is here to stay. We don't think he is on the move. It could happen, but we both think so. If you're in a situation where you want to contend, okay, you're thinking Shane Bieber can bounce back, be an ace, you're going to get his draft pick at the end of the year. You're getting a bonus first already. This is a perfect year then to take that gamble on Manzardo. Is it a sure thing? No. But if he has a fantastic year, there's no guarantee that he will. But I mean, you look at the past few years, Bobby Witt was supposed to win 2 years ago. He wasn't even a top 3 candidate. Volpe was supposed to win last year. Wasn't even a top 3 candidate. I mean, he won a Golden Glove that he didn't deserve, but like, you can't say that he's got no shot, right? And he has just gotten better as the year went on. He stabilized in Cleveland. He got healthy in Cleveland. He had a great Arizona Fall League. Everything has been positive momentum. Let's gamble. Let's get crazy. Let's gamble. Let's put this guy at first base. Let's see if we can get a third first rounder potentially. Let's see if this can be like what Seattle did a year ago, where they had all those picks at the end of the first round, essentially had 3 first round picks and turned it into some really interesting players. He should be here day one. What else does he need to prove?
Yeah, he doesn't need to prove anything, really. Even though he had a limited season in 2023 due to the shoulder injury, he still played over 100 games if you combine his time with Durham AAA for Tampa Bay, for his time with Cleveland, Arizona Fall League, played well at, but like you said, be careful with Arizona Fall League stats. But at the same time, he hit well in the Arizona Fall League, so at least he didn't play poorly, because when you don't hit well there, then there's some question marks. So clearly he was pretty healthy. So I'm just trying to think here too. Like, the rookie of the year thing does matter a little bit here, because now that I think about it, I pulled up some of the top prospects for next year, and here's what I'm thinking, Jeff. How funny would this be? So I think you're going to say the same thing I'm going to say is Wyatt Langford is probably going to be up next year, probably pretty early for Texas.
Evan Carter will still qualify too, right?
Yeah. Oh God, Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford are both going to be rookies next year, and they both might have a very good inside track on that. And then you have Jackson Holliday in Baltimore, who I mentioned in the Wednesday show that could be a candidate.
I bet that they play games with him. I bet they play games with him.
Yeah, because their owner's already talking about how they can't afford to keep all these guys. So there is that. But here's the other twist to this, Jeff. What if this would be very ironic, and it's going to drive Cleveland fans nuts. You have the 2 Texas guys, right? You have Langford and you have Carter. There's Ricky Tiedemann from Toronto that could factor in. The pitchers don't always win. But the real battle next year for Rookie of the Year, outside of the Texas guys, could it be Kyle Manzardo versus Junior Caminero? That wouldn't drive anybody nuts, right?
No. And here's the thing. Honestly, I think the favorite has to be considered Evan Carter, because he went and, put his name on a big stage already.
Yep.
So I think
that's going to factor in. There's so much bias in these awards.
Yeah, there is. And, I think he's going to be the favorite, but like, who cares? Let's see what he can do. Right. Stephen Kwan wasn't supposed to finish third. Tanner Bybee was not supposed to finish second. We've just seen 2 guys in a row overachieve who, it didn't net Cleveland anything yet. Maybe Manzardo's the guy. And if he is good enough to finish second, then we are in a great position as a team moving forward, because first base is settled for 5 years, and we got big production, because you expect big production at first base. And if he finishes second in the Rookie of the Year, has a year similar to what Tristan Cassis just had, who finished third, I mean, I'd be happy. And I think we'd all be happy. And then I think everyone would have to apologize for getting mad about the Savale deal.
Oh, that's going to be really fun. If this Kyle Manzardo deal works out, if he ends up,
especially if he is the power bat that people have been screaming for.
Yeah, if this is a 25 home run guy at first base who gets on base a ton because he has good eye at the plate and he's just a good hitter, then yeah, there's a lot of people are going to be eating their words on the Savale deal, which, maybe it will work out, maybe it won't. I think it's still a worthwhile deal, but there's a lot of people who out there were very sure this was going to be a terrible deal. But now we're talking about this guy who should be on the opening day roster regardless of status. And again, I just don't see any current form on this roster where you can say that there's no room for him or there's a better option available for you, because there's not. And I was going to say,
here's the list of guys who played first base last year, real quickly to interrupt everyone's favorite thing. Josh Naylor, 91. Gabby Arias, 35. Josh Bell, 30. Cole Calhoun, 25. David Fry, 19. Tyler Freeman, 1. Who is he blocking there?
It's not blocking anybody. The only thing I can think of is if this team goes out. If I said the other day that I don't see them signing a free agent this offseason, which I also probably should refute. Not refute, but I should probably not double down on. I need to go back and explain a little more about my stance on that. But the only thing I can think of is this team goes out and they sign somebody, and it's a guy who can play outfield, first base. Like if it's a Rhys Hoskins type or
Adam Duvall.
Has Duvall played first in the past?
I swear he used to play first base. Is this just in my head?
Yeah. There's like Justin Turner. Like there's some of those guys out there that might be worthwhile. You block them that way, but I don't really like that idea because as we were talking about off the air before we recorded Wednesday's episode, that
Duvall only has 43 games at first, so not as many as I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be willing. Okay. For Adam Duvall, I'd be willing to sign him and take the flexibility if he can still play some first, but
first, left, center, and right. Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. The problem is you can't push Josh Naylor to right field. It just can't happen.
No.
And there's no reason to block Kyle Manzardo. So the Duvall thing would work because you don't necessarily have to block Kyle Manzardo by doing that because he can do a lot of different things. So the only thinking is you sign someone like a Rhys Hoskins or a Justin Turner or whatever, and that blocks him. But I don't see Cleveland doing that, and that's the only thing. That's why he has to be on the open day roster. All right. Have we covered enough Manzardo? Can we move on to other guys? Do you have any other points we want to make about Kyle Manzardo?
He's really good right now.
He's really good, and this is the most excited I think I've been about a first base prospect since. Oh God, I don't want to say Matt Laporta. Okay, I'm going to say Matt Laporta, but don't shoot me over that. I was, they traded for Matt Laporta in 2008, so I was 19. I've grown. I've learned things since
And
then.
Listen, you can go back to 2 years ago's offseason. Everydayer Alton asked, why do prospects fail? It's a great idea. Matt Laporta is still the weirdest prospect failure. You look at his stats, he is the weirdest prospect failure of the last 20 years.
Yeah, so don't shoot me for saying Matt Laporta. I know someone's going to hear this and be like, see, this is why we're not excited about Kyle Manzardo. It's, you know what, we've all learned since then. And again, like Jeff said, it's very hard to go back and understand why. But let's move on. Let's talk about some other people who could play first base in the system in just a moment. Well, before we get into more first base talk very quickly, let's talk about where else you can find sports talk today while you're driving for the Thanksgiving holiday, or whether maybe you're out shopping on Black Friday. Does anybody do that still? I don't do that still. I order everything online. But you can also listen to Locked On Sports Today online while you're shopping online. It's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports covers the top sports stories of the day with local experts from all of our Locked On shows, plus our national shows that cover every league in the U.S., on the planet, soccer. I don't know, on international soccer. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube after you're done listening to this bonus episode, and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
My 6-year-old daughter said, Daddy, are we going to go shopping on Black Friday? I'm like, no, but
put her in front of the computer.
Well,
that's the shopping.
It's like you can do some Prodigy. For those who aren't in the know, it's a math-based learning game that she's a fan of. That has a Pokemon-like and RPG system of development. So if you're a parent out there, I highly recommend it. It's very engaging for my 6-year-old and for even my middle schoolers. But now that I've given them a free plug for no good reason, hey, Prodigy, give me a free account so I can in exchange for that. But
is David Fry a Prodigy?
He is He is a hard worker. He is a guy, one of those guys who was, listen, a year ago at this time, you and I were like, should he have, he wasn't even on the 40-man, right? They didn't go ahead and add him.
Nope, they didn't.
Right? He had to get through the Rule 5. We're talking about a guy.
Well, remember, they didn't. They traded. No, he was here in 2022. You're right. He did have to get through the Rule 5.
He had to get through the Rule 5 last year because he was not on the roster, and he got through the Rule 5. Because he was the player to be named later for JC Mejia. Pour one out for his career.
Won the trade.
Yeah, they won that trade. That's for sure. Much like they won the trade. When they trade with the Brewers, they've won. Like money for Owen Miller, that was a win after Owen Miller's collapse. Money for Mark Matias, that's a win. Fry for Mejia, that's a win. So when you get through it, he is. We talked about why it's good to add if you consider adding an Adam Duvall, his flexibility, right? Why is Fry great? Well, he gives you a third catcher while also playing first and left and all over. It's flexibility. It's lefty mashing. Well, I don't know if it's even mashing, but listen, he's at least serviceable against lefties. Ace relief pitching. That's why they felt comfortable trading. No, that's why they felt comfortable making those moves in the pen. David Fry is going to be the 8th inning guy. You heard it here first. I'm kidding, of course. But I mean, he gives you the depth, and he just gives you another option there. And he hit pretty well. He hit well enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, he even headed up 102 WRC plus against righties. He actually slugged for a better number against righties, and he hit lefties a little bit better, got on base more against lefties. Pretty even for a rookie season for a guy who's 28. For a guy who's 28 making his big league debut, or 27 made his big league debut. He just turned, hey, David Fry, happy birthday this week. He turned 28 back on the 20th. We missed that one. So happy birthday, David Fry.
Good for him.
Got a pretty good celebration this year for a guy who was 27.
I bet he did not make a lot in a signing bonus either. So this year was huge just for him as a human being. Yeah,
yeah.
And he was probably like
28 games at catcher he played, 19 at first, 7 in right, 2 in left, 1 at third, and he DH twice. And of course, he got that fantastic relief experience.
Do you want to Northwestern State University of Louisiana? Do you want to guess a signing bonus?
$2.
Nope. Lowest was $2,500. The Royals gave Tyler Gray. He was second lowest at $10K. He got the senior sign bonus. So, as anyone who knows, you make nothing in the minors, and he had to kick back some of that, I'm sure, to an agent and taxes.
And he wasn't even on the 40. Because here's the way this also works too: is that obviously, minor leaguers are paid very poorly, and at every level they get a slight raise. Like you might get 20,000 at high A, you might get 30 at double A, and then triple A you might get 50. But when you're put on the 40-man roster, your money expands by like 2 or 3. So he went from making like 50K in triple A on the 40 to making like 150K or whatever the prorated deal in the majors, and then you get the rookie minimum, which is like, what is that, 400 now, 450K?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was a huge year for David Fry.
Can I I'm going to interrupt you, which everyone loves. Can I talk about really quickly this 7th round? So in that 7th round this year, the first 15 picks, none have made it to the big leagues, but the 16th pick was Joe Ryan. Brendan Donovan was the 19th pick. James Outman was the 30th pick. Cody Morris was the 29th pick. Duran with the Red Sox was the 26th pick. Andrew Wantz, who's pitched in the big leagues for the Angels, was the 17th pick. It's a very, David Fry was the 21st pick. Really weird. The 7th round in 2018 is a very weird one to go look up just because nobody hit at all at the top. Then you get to the back end, and there's some really good players. Josh Winder with the Twins, another guy there. Odd round, sorry. I know nothing to do with baseball, but I'm a draft nerd, and I was just like, this is crazy.
Baseball, but okay, so how many at bats are you giving David Fry next year? Because
200 across multiple positions.
Only 2. Okay, he had 113 plate appearances this past year, so you're only upping it by 90-ish. Because
I don't want to overexpose.
The problem is this. Okay,
maybe 250.
I want to see David Fry. I almost said Josh Fry. Who's Josh Fry? I think he plays for the Ohio State. Okay, I don't think he's been very good this year, but
isn't that terrible baseball player for Texas?
No, maybe, I don't know. That's not the point. So DH this year, right, is going to be split between Naylor, Manzardo. Are you going to DH Bo Naylor some to keep his bat in the lineup because you have Bethancourt now, and David Fry gives you a third catching thing, so you can do that. So you save David Fry as the reserve guy there. But maybe against lefties, you sit Bo, you start Bethancourt, and maybe you give David Fry at bats at DH if you feel like Naylor needs a day off or depends on how things go against lefties, there's still ways to get him in there. And, you got remote. Maybe there's a way you can get David Fry to play right field against lefties and put Laureano in center, and that maximizes things a little bit. There's ways to do it, but I would like to see David Fry get 200 plate appearances next year. Absolutely. Maybe 250 between catcher, DH first, and somewhere in the outfield, especially against lefties. I say put him in against lefties wherever you possibly can, whether that's giving Manzardo or Naylor, either the Naylor's a day off if necessary, or using him in right field if you don't have a better option early on, and moving Laureano to center. So David Fry fits just about everywhere, and I don't see why he can't get some at-bats at first base. But like I said, the emergence of Naylor hitting lefties last year complicates that, and obviously you want Cal Manzardo to get plenty of experience. You can't have him sitting on the bench.
Yeah, I'm hoping that all of that Naylor is healthy. I'm hoping that Manzardo gets opportunities, and that's why I'm like, okay, max him out at 250. That Bo Naylor plays a lot. That we're kind of David Fry is a solid utility bench player. I don't want him if he is getting 350, 400 at bats. Something went wrong.
Something went wrong, but I also feel like he might be a guy where you're like, okay, if there are injuries, something happens, he might be like a nice pillow option to throw in there. He doesn't have like Ramon Laureano's experience where you feel better about that, but I mean, there are certainly worse options to go there. Speaking of worse options, after Cal Manzardo, first base is pretty rough in the Guardian system, and that's what Jeff and I wanted to talk about today. Was the Overflow show is that there are not a lot of first base options. So we are going to finish up this bonus episode by doing just that. All right, Jeff. So you joke that we will do our prospect draft next year again, just before the season starts. And this is kind of the screw you position because, let's be honest, whoever gets the first pick is taking Kyle Manzardo first in the prospect draft. And whoever drafts second might have to take Ralphy Velazquez, because if you don't take him, there are no other first basemen to take that you feel really good about. And we both said on the Wednesday show that, if you haven't listened to it yet, that both of us don't really love Jhonkensy Noel. And here's the thing about Ralphie. This is why we're saying Ralphie would have to be the second pick if one of us took Manzardo first in that draft, which I don't see any way either one of us takes anybody but Ralphie or Manzardo. Is that you hope that Ralphie hits too much to stick at catcher, and that's because catcher defense is always the last thing to develop, and he could get hurt, and it's a lot of struggle, and there could be developmental issues that hold him back if he is forced to catch and you're not getting the best out of his bat that might be in there. So if he just hits too much and you're like, okay, like I'm not saying he's gonna be Bryce Harper, but Bryce Harper is kind of a good situation to look at here. He came into baseball as a catcher. He hit too much. The Nationals said he's going to be an outfielder because it gets him to the big leagues faster. And Ralphie might be a first baseman long term, but he might hit enough to be a first base. So whoever doesn't get the first pick and take Manzardo, you take Ralphie and you put him at first base, because after that, it's ugly. I don't know. It's nastier than cranberry sauce that's been sitting in your pantry for the last 10 years that hasn't been served yet,
It's still fine. It's still fine. So listen, with Ralphie, here's the thing. If you're picking second in our draft, you're definitely taking Ralphie either 2 or 3. So because of positional value. And we hope he is a savannah catcher, and by all reports too, like, we think he can stick at catcher, but if the bat is too good, then the bat is too good. And especially if you got Bo there and he's locked up, you move on, and you're just happy to have an exceptional hitter, which is what he is first and foremost. But because of the situation, the only other first baseman who I am debating for the top 30 is CJ Kafis, who did have a nice debut for this team. I was not the highest on him. It is a hard profile for a first baseman. It's the idea of like, hey, he could potentially be an elite defender at first or a mediocre defender in the outfield with high contact skills and maybe league average power. It's not a sexy profile. Most of the draft picks rarely are, but Kayfus will be in my top 30 when it's all said and done. I'm enough of a believer based on what I saw this past year. I was not the biggest fan of that pick. I'm still not sure if that's who I would do if I was doing my redraft. I could have that somewhere buried down. Or, hey, you can go listen to that bonus episode. That's what I did with it. But, he's a solid first base prospect. And then it gets really like the weird thing with Jhonkensy Noel is, he smacks the heck out of the ball occasionally. He has this thing where his max exit velocity is high and his peak power is as good as anyone, but his average exit velocity is not good. Like he doesn't hit the ball. He doesn't make hard contact all that often, which is a bad combination. Like that is not what you want to see in a power hitter. So he's fourth, but like that's kind of more of like, I don't think anyone after the top three really has a major league future. And then I was telling with Justin, it's like, fifth best in the system is Mike Capriz or like Aaron Bracho to me. And those are more like depth players kind of from my view. So it's the minor league choices. And hey, and you want it to be weaker first base. If a team had like 5 excellent first base prospects, that is a terribly run organization because
good point.
You can't move first baseman anywhere else. That's not how it works. So typically it's you fail somewhere else and you end up at first, right? So that's the thing that we see happen. So to me, there's only 3 real prospects, and and then there's some guys who have one tool that stands out for them, or like one thing they have done. But it's pretty weak in general.
It's very weak. Yeah. Again, I think I said this on Wednesday's show. Noel is not an outfielder. He's not a third baseman. He can play out. Like you could put him in the outfield. If I had to pick between third base and outfield, I'd say outfield. But I think I made this comparison on Guardians of the Future when Willie and I were doing a show before the 40-man deadline for Rule 5 last week, and I said I can wear biker shorts, but nobody wants me to. Shouldn't happen. You shouldn't see that. And it's the same thing with Jhonkensy Noel playing other positions. He could do it, but he probably shouldn't. That's the problem with our society today is we don't ask ourselves, just because we can, should we? Like that's a question that a lot of people need to ask themselves. And that's, Noel, A, he struggles with breaking balls. B, he doesn't hit the ball hard enough consistently for a guy whose only standout skill is power. It's such a high risk profile. Like Noel either ends up getting to the big leagues and hitting 40 home runs, or he gets there because he's on the 40 home runs.
0% chance he hits 40 home runs.
I think
I'm not going to do it. He just doesn't have the contact. So throw him a bunch of breaking balls down in the dirt, and you've got it.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, like your only 2 outcomes with him are either he is great, like a Miguel Sano type slugger for a couple of years, or he's absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
and those are not good outcomes. And Sano might be best case scenario.
Hiram, just stop. I'm not going to respond to the Twitter message.
Yes,
I appreciate that you're an everydayer. I appreciate your passion.
Only when
I appreciate that you think that Jhonkensy Noel, Oscar Gonzalez are on their way to the Hall of Fame, but I'm just going to disagree with you. Let's just end it there.
Yeah, I like CJ Kayfus. I watched him a little bit when he was with the Hillcats late in the year, and it looks like a guy who has almost like no lower half in his swing, and he's got.
They like that type.
Guys,
Mike
Will
Pappy,
Brennan,
Jordan Smith,
Will
drafted a lot
that way.
I mean, they've drafted so many guys who have no lower half, and it's like they don't seem to be very good at like helping them either, and they keep adding them.
Well, they did with Will Brennan. It just hasn't materialized yet. They have helped him utilize more of his lower half, and that's why he had the breakout in the minors. Yeah. After seeing the majors. So maybe they can do it with CJ Kayfus. I do like him. I think he's an interesting profile. And after that is Mike Capriz, who I think has an outside shot at being a big leaguer because he does a couple things well, and he's a left-handed hitter. He can play outfield. He can also play first base. And he does walk. I don't know how he does. I don't know how he'll do against lefties in the future, but right after that, it's like there's nobody. Like, Joe Naranjo seems like a great dude. He's a good defender. I don't think he's going to hit. Mike Collado is not really a first base prospect. And after that, there's a lot of guys who just aren't. I don't know who are you moving to first base? Like is there anybody moving to first base besides Ralphie? I mean, in the system?
No. Like right now, it's like,
One
is
of the
that where
catchers,
Cooper?
but
It's like if Cooper Ingle, there's some debates on his defense. It's like, but he's a
not going to
better
hit enough to
athlete.
catch.
He might be a guy who could conceivably play in the outfield if catcher didn't work. But it's like Juan Brito. Like, is that the like if he can't play second well enough? I mean, he's not big enough for first. I don't know. Well, I mean, he's 5'11".
Quintana was not a tall first baseman either, though.
Yeah, it's like I mean Brito might be in that discussion because he's kind of positionless. Like if they hadn't traded for Manzardo, I'd probably be advocating for Brito at first right now.
I agree. Or David Fry. But luckily we have Kyle Manzardo to talk about. And we're lucky you spent your Thanksgiving drive with us, or maybe you were
Black Friday shopping, or
you're avoiding family and you're listening to Guardians talk. Hey, if you're listening to this on the way to wherever you're going to Thanksgiving, tell a family member who might like this. Tell them we'll help them be more informed about the Guardians coming up next year, because we want to get to that 2K mark before the new year. So help us get there. Hope you enjoyed the bonus episode this week of Lockdown Guardians. We weren't going to go this long. We were like, we might go 20 minutes to talk about the future first base. And we ended up recording a whole second show because we just can't shut up. And hopefully you guys don't mind that.
So thank you all for joining us, being a part of the Lockdown Guardians team. Remember to rate and review and do your part. Download it every day. Be an everydayer and go Guardians.